Well, I first tried this on StreamYards, but I was getting a lot of interruptions. So I wanted to discuss Spare, written by Prince Harry of Wales, and I am listening to the audible version. Um, Simply because it's a lot easier for me versus reading right now. I need more surgery when the time comes. Now, there were several things that I found interesting. I was listening to the media and what they were saying about what was what had been said in the book. But the odd thing was I can't seem I'm not hearing it on Audible. But when I went to Shannon 681's chat night and she had It's Randy's Life up on the live, um I said, I just asked them both had it changed, and is there a difference between the two, the Audible and the book? And Randy said, yes, there is, because there were several points that like I thought, well, wait now, I guess he didn't say that. The media said that there was a fight, and none of that's in the book. The fight, unless I'm coming up to it. I'm on about chapter 85. I think I have 3 hours left to listen to it, but I've gotten to the point, pardon me, where they're Meghan and Harry have met and they're dating, and things seem to be progressing very quickly. Um, I had a, I had a piece of paper here, points that I wanted to discuss, and here we go. Now the media says that you know Harry said that Camilla was a villain, but the context that I got from the Audible was that Camilla, as we know, dated Charles throughout most of his life. And after Diana died, they waited 8 years to get married. And they did so in, I think, a justice, or maybe in a church. The Queen couldn't attend. But anyway, she did give the permission for them to marry. And in hindsight, let's face it, Camilla was the love of his life. So it's a shame that that wedding was not allowed, because things would have turned out much, much different. I know we wouldn't have had William and Harry, but they would have been very happy, and Diana would have led a very different life and maybe still living today. Who knows? We wouldn't know anything about Diana, though. Princess Diana. But anyway, in Audible, it says that she kind of started villainizing not people, but she tried to kind of get a better rapport with the media, because she was painted as an evil whatever. To that end, then for Harry, uh it was said that he said she was a villain to him, but such is not the case. um I believe that what the intent was that she was sharing information with the media, but it was about it was about her life and things that she was involved in and things like that, trying to make herself, present as a more positive um person, and trying to sway the media to look differently at her, give her a second chance or a third or fourth or whatever. And it eventually did work, because she had people that helped her, and she went and took a course, apparently, allegedly, in the States, on the appropriate way to walk, to dress, to sit, to you know, uh, act in the Queen's presence and all the rest of the royal family. And I think I have to give it to her. She really did do a great job. I mean, it's all like a Greek tragedy. The story of Prince Charles and Princess Diana. He had to marry somebody who had never had children before and was never married. And so they basically kind of chose her, but he loved Camilla all his life. So I think Camilla doesn't really play that media whole thing with the media and Harry being concerned that she had something to do with the media being turned on he and um Megan. That was years and years and years ago, 8, 10, 12 years ago. It had nothing to do with the here and now. Um, Harry has a lot of grief, yes, and there is no, as Shannon said today, there's no set period of time where grief ends. No, no, that's true. There's not. And like my father died, I don't know how many years ago, and today it just feels like it was yesterday. It was like a knife stabbed in my heart. And I'll probably never get over it. I wasn't there with him when he passed away. I mean, I did have people hired to help me because my mother-in-law was dying at the same time with heart failure. And, you know, I did everything I could for my dad. I loved him to the end of the earth. And he, I, I was his cheerleader. He was mine. I've said it before. But anyway, children are not prepared. I don't care what your age is. You're not prepared to lose a parent. And I was very, very close with my dad. I mean, we had so much in common. I love my mother, don't get me wrong, and she had some amazing abilities, but I was just much closer with my dad. And it is what it is. My brother and sister were far closer with mom. But at the end of the day, mom and I became extremely close in her last 10, 15 years. And we were always close, but we became very, very close. And it talks about Harry's grief, and I think as a young boy he did possibly suffer, but I wouldn't know. I'm not trained. PTSD, and I mean, he was very young. He was a spare. He was always looked on differently than William was, but I don't think Harry realizes that William was being prepared for a role that maybe he didn't necessarily ask for, but which was he was told, you know what, this is what you're going to be doing for the rest of your life. You have no choice. On the Oprah interview, Harry made the statement that his father and his brother are locked into the system, but I don't think it's unwillingly. I don't think they're dragged into it. They want to. They see the importance of carrying on with the monarchy, and all the best to them. But Harry had the freedom to do all sorts of things that William could never do. In the book, but Harry talks about his grief, and he forgets that his brother was probably grieving just as much as he was. He forgets that and dealt with it differently than he did. Um, you know, uh, uh, Harry made a comment that, well, William looked like my mother, but his looks are fading fast now. Well, that's what happens when you grow older. Harry, yours are fading too. It is what it is. I mean, I should say Prince Harry. But not only was William the oldest boy, but he was also his mother's confidant, in everything that they did. Anytime Diana had concerns about what to wear, what did he think about, what what Wave's father had said or anything like that. Um, William had to help his mother with responses to that. What should she do with her clothing? How should she dress for this? Where should they go travel? So a young man, and he was just a very young teen, was hauled into adulthood far before he was ready to. So where Harry thinks that he had a load of burden, I don't think he's stopping and realizing his brother had a different load. He had a lot of baggage too. They just dealt with it differently. Something sticks in my mind and keeps playing it over and over. Now, in the Audible, there was no mention of Harry stating that, Prince Harry, stating that, he had a lot of concern over Prince William's children. That would be Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis, and the new baby coming. That the spares will lead such a mentally deranged life, or they'll be scarred. But Prince William and Princess Catherine seem to be very grounded, and they have a great support system between William's family and Catherine's family. I'm quite certain that those four children will be raised to have a very strong, solid education behind them, and they will be able to, at any point in time, have a career. Because who knows how long the monarchy will last. Um, I know the citizens of the UK said that the monarchy costs a lot, but I do believe the monarchy pays for itself. They bring in a lot of tourist trade, and people sell mugs and all kinds of, paraphernalia with the monarch picture on it. So I think they might earn what they pay, and they do a lot of work for patronages, so they raise money for awareness and get everybody involved to help donate. And so I think I don't know if it's quite a break even thing, but I think it's pretty close. I do look at the monarchy now compared to when the Queen was and Prince Philip ruled. Um, it's a totally different time. Prince Charles has not quite found his place. He's been told not to speak on any controversial issues, yet he's talking about the environment, but that's a passion that he has. And I think within time he'll realize, well, no, I'm not supposed to be involved in anything like that. And although people around the world may think it's silly or smug or stupid, but that's the royal family. And speaking for a moment on Meghan, I don't think she did her homework when she entered the royal family. I think instead she just went in blindly. If she had read a lot about it, she would have realized that there's protocol, and protocol had to be followed. It seemed like she went in blind, really blind, and didn't understand that you had to curtsy for this one and who you had to curtsy for and who you had to show respect to and who you did. Apparently, allegedly, Princess Anne went into the royal website and removed the names completely of Harry, Prince Harry, uh, Duchess Meghan, and their children completely. They've also been removed from the guest list for the coronation because they will be wearing the tapes that we could see strapped to their back for the Jubilee, and I couldn't tell if Harry was wired for the funeral, for the Queen's funeral. I doubted. What was sad about the Queen's funeral is she had begged him to come and visit, begged him to come to visit, and he didn't. He was busy elsewhere. And I'm sure he has deep regrets because they were very close. They were very close to one another. So sadly, though, he didn't get to see her, and he was sitting at her bedside, and it was hours after she passed away, but he thought she was still living. And he came out and he said, Grandmother said she was very proud of me. And they kind of looked at him, knowing the time she had passed away, and she felt that I would do well in life. Now, the Queen was concerned about Harry, of all things, that he loved Meghan too much. Well, that's never a bad thing. But, I think for Harry, he didn't feel he often talks in the Audible book that Prince William was jealous of him. Maybe he was in some respects because Harry had the freedom to do whatever he wanted. William had zero freedom and had to do whatever he was told to do. So there you have it. I mean, maybe there was a point where maybe there was a point where Harry didn't stop and realize that, hey, I have all this freedom. And he used that freedom, as we could tell from the media. So in my mind, they had different paths in life. And it's not like William was given a choice. He had no choice. He was the first in line. If Harry had been the first in line, he would know the stress that William was put under, and he had no choice. It was by birth. There's a lot that I don't know about the royal family, but I respected them my whole life. We sang O Canada every morning in school. There was a picture of the Queen, and there's a picture of the Queen and my father-in-law's general store that he operated, which is just across the road from us, which we redid, but we haven't finished the wiring yet. But Fiona work comes first. Anyway, getting back to the book, there's so many discrepancies between Audible and the book. I guess maybe because the Audible was free and the book, you paid for it. So I guess that's maybe why a lot of the things were left out. Um, let me see what else. Yeah, Harry is going to make certain that uh, William's children never go through the torture that he went through as a spare, but I was a spare. I mean, and in my family growing up, the boys were the important ones and the girls, weren't. But oh, we girls, spoke up enough that we got noticed quite a bit. Yeah, when we got hurt quite a bit. And we did very well for ourselves, all three of us. And there was never a distinction of one was better than the other. And to be honest with you, I never saw Princess Diana or Prince Charles ever treat the boys differently. It's just they had different roles. And I mean, for that matter, Harry outranked William in the military. But now coming on to something that is alleged at this point, that Harry in the book discusses the private ways to enter not only the castle, I think it was Balmoral, where the Queen was living. You can correct me if I'm wrong, which castle it was, but and where Charles lives. He gave the easiest the entrances that he used and where they are located. Go up this number of steps, turn left, go to this color room. That's really dangerous, considering the fact that allegedly he said he killed 25 Taliban soldiers and likened them to chess pieces where he had to clear the board. Now, the Taliban has issued allegedly, well, no, actually, I saw that on Twitter, a warrant for his, I know, they want charges brought against him for crimes against war. Listen, there may have been other soldiers that killed thousands, but it's something you take to the grave with you. You don't put it in a tell-all book. And it makes me wonder if Harry doesn't have a death wish, because speaking about things like that not only put himself in grave danger, put his family as well, to the point where Meghan's moved out of Montecito, but they've sold it. But Harry and their little children, and I guess whoever's caring for the children, are still there until, they have to move completely. It also put a target on the royal family to the point where they don't actually know how to run the coronation at this point in time, allegedly. Because it would only take one person with grenades. I mean, they could be laced with grenades, stand by any of the numbers of royal family that would be there that day. So I don't know if they're going to have to gate them like a mile away, and you can only see from a distance. I mean, there's also air securities and things like that, and that's one thing Charles was always very worried about, being shot and killed. Whereas the Queen, I think, was shot at 3 times, and she just kept right on with her day. Never even, acted like it possibly did unnerve her, but no, she never showed it if it did. It's a sad state of affairs, really. And, you know, I could write, I mean, I argued and fought with my brother and my sister. And being the youngest, I usually was, well, the brunt of it all until I got a bit older and I got my own voice, and then nobody got one over on me after that. And I learned to stand my ground when needed. I picked my battles very carefully. But am I going to write a book about that and hurt my family name and hurt my siblings? I've only got one sibling left. Am I going to do that? No, I couldn't do that to them. And let's face it, although he never would, William could write one and it would probably be the complete opposite. Because you're talking about the royal family, it's not like the operations of the royal family are secretive. Like, for example, on Oprah Winfrey's Own, there was a suggestive phrase that not they weren't racist. They weren't conscious of racial discrimination or whatever. Somebody had wondered what the color of the first child's skin would be. Now look, there's biracial children in my niece's family, and I could care less. To me, they're their own individual little people, and I love every one of them. I don't care about the color of their skin, and it never crossed my mind. I wanted to know, did they have the fingers and toes, and were they healthy? I could care less about the color of their skin. And I think it was a comment if made in passing, but now it's been changed around. A lot of people lost their jobs standing up for the royal family. Pierce Morgan, Sharon Osbourne, and a number of other people. Because they were standing up for the royal family, saying, no, they're not racist. However, yep, there you go. Like Pierce Morgan feels that he should be offered his job back with an apology. Same with Sharon Osbourne. Will that happen? I don't know, but now it's all backtracked. But it wasn't just implied, it was Oprah filled in the words more so. And then there was like a sudden pause and a gasp. And you can't find that show anywhere. It's been erased from the internet. And she stepped back from um, uh, the Wales family completely. I believe, no, the Sussex family. It's a sad state of affairs, really. I'm assuming when you have large amounts of money at stake, I think Harry's goal, or maybe his wife's goal, is to cut off as much of the supply of the money as possible, but he's forgetting something. They own billions of dollars in property and in jewels and trust funds. They, if if the media and the population of the UK turned against them today, they'd be multi-billionaires. It's not hurting them. It's hurting him more. And sadly, allegedly, the media says that Meghan is out dating, they're suggesting for husband number 3. And if that's the case, and I think this is why the royal family is one reason why they're saying nothing, but it's never complained, never explained, but they know Harry is not well. They know it firsthand. And they also know that allegedly she asked him to stop taking the medicine. It was a choice. Stop taking it or we don't get married. So there's a man with chemical imbalance and severe depression that he used to use extreme amounts of alcohol and drugs to help him get through a day. So I mean, he called his girlfriend from Africa in great distress. And said he was in the closet and he was too afraid to come out. He locked himself in. So she called his father and his brother and they spoke to him, and then they brought his psychiatrist into the call. And I'm not exactly sure how they got him out, whether the psychiatrist went there or just talked him out of it. And I believe, but I can't be sure. I believe he's back on his medicine, but they know Harry's Prince Harry's health. And it's going to be very disturbing. Like, and Princess Anne says there's no way back, but Charles loves his 2 sons. And yes, it is sad for the way things turned out for their mother, but Diana and Charles were not suited for each other. They both had affairs. Well, Charles had, went through their whole marriage, but then Diana had them as well. It's sad, but then their result was two sons that were both scarred from the loss of their mother and both scarred from the tumultuous marriage that they had for the 11 years. I believe it was 11 years they were married. Anyway, and right up to her untimely death. Look, you know, I'm just giving facts as like I'm listening to the audible. It's not painting everything like the media is. So if you have anything to add or correct me on, please do in the comments. And I hope, if you have people that are interested in discussing spare or wanting to comment, please share this. I'd love to get more subscribers. I'd really love to get to 1,000 subscribers. Not for anything other than it'd be kind of nice to have a community page. And I'm not sure if you need 1,000 now and whatever, but I'm a long way from there. But anyway, thank you for stopping by. I think this was a bit long, for which I apologize, but there was a lot that I wanted to say. Okay, be kind to each other and love to all.